I'll press record. Oh, that was awkward. Okay, anyways. All right, we're good to go.
Okay, so hello, Anne.
Hello, Maeve.
I loved your short story. It was very good, out of the box. I'm gonna have to listen to that song. It sounds good.
Yeah, it is a good song. Sorry. I think someone just stepped on my dog's toy and it made a really awful sound. Anyways, continue.
Okay, so I really liked your perspective that you wrote from, and I was wondering how you thought of that, like perspective after death, before reaching the afterlife.
Well, that's a good question. Well, I had previously read a book in the couple weeks prior called Reincarnation Blues. I actually have it right here. And it was about a guy who's been reincarnated, like you have 10,000 lives to be reincarnated as. And so that got the idea of like the afterlife and like death and rebirth kind of in my head because I thought it was a really interesting book. So I kind of wanted to play with that in my short story and have it be from like a dead person's perspective. And I thought the best way that I could convey that was through like a ghost. And then I could work in some other characters as well. Like, since it was based off of the real story of like Charles Smitty and his murders, I could work in some of his other murders as well. And then like the ghosts could meet and then progress the plot.
Yeah. Love it. That sort of brings me to my next question about, like, you added a date, May 31st, 1964. Like, did that have any historical significance or, like, factual context? I was just curious.
Yeah. Well, so I'm pretty sure I added that for the date that the main character died, because that was the date in real life that the main, the real person the story was based off of was murdered. And I thought that if I added that piece, it would be add more context to the story, and you would be able to like picture it in your mind a little bit more.
Yeah, I liked that detail. Okay, and wait, what was I'm supposed to ask you a specific question, right?
Uh-huh.
What is perspective? And then I kind of commented on. Sorry.
You're good. No worries. I think you have to answer or ask a question based on one of my responses.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about. All right. I'm sorry.
It's okay. After basketball brain, it's like whatever. Yeah. Got those basketballs, you know?
Okay, so I will ask you about, were there any other, like, historical or factual details that you thought about using that you didn't use or you did put in that I may have missed?
Great question. I did not include any other specific factual details, except for that one date. However, I did base the timing of the story on the timing of the next murders. So the next two ghosts that were introduced to the story were like murdered the next year in like
right
August.
It was like a year later.
Yeah, it was a little bit more than a year. It was like a year and 5 months or something. So I included like that timetable, but not like the actual date. Good question.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I loved it. It was very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about your story.
Thanks.
First of all, I really, really, really liked it. I loved your
Thank you.
perspective, and how
Thanks.
you,
Thanks.
timed it at, like, the time of her death, which I thought was really cool. So my first question was, what inspired you to write your story from the perspective of Gretchen Fritz?
Well, okay, so it's kind of funny because I started writing like in first person because I think that's just what kind of came naturally. And then I realized, like, wait, like, she's gonna die. Like, I can't just be writing from a dead person's perspective because I didn't think about the ghost part
Yeah.
that you did. So I was like, well, I can't just write as a dead person. So um, I was thinking like Hamilton, always an inspiration. You know, like the part right before he dies, he's like,
Yeah.
all these thoughts racing through my mind. I was
Yes,
thinking like,
yes.
kind of like as you're dying, you're like trying to think about like your life and what's happening. And it's all these different things. So the this little snippet of what she's thinking about is kind of like the slow mo kind of like as
Mm.
she's dying she's thinking about all these things. So yeah, those are all the factors that I kind of used.
I like that. I think that's really creative to pull from Hamilton. Um,
Yes.
Another question that I had for you is, in your story, you kind of mess with the balance of, like, love and hate from your character towards Charles Smitty. I was wondering how you kind of created the perfect balance in your story, and I was wondering how you created that balance, or, like, managed to, yeah, no, how did you create that balance?
Thank you. Well, so when remember reading like what was it, like the New Yorker article,
Mhm.
and the friend, he was saying how Gretchen and Smitty were like made for each other, but they like argued all the time, but like no one could match like their love.
Yeah.
So I just think that's interesting how like opposites kind of attract, but at the same time, like you're so alike that you fight, like fight, fight, fight. So I think like Gretchen's character is like she's trying to be her own person and she's like figuring out herself, and so like she's like letting this person into her life, but she also has a lot of pushback to it because she wants to be her own person. So I think that also has to do with it. But yeah, I thought it was fun kind of writing like the love-hate relationship.
Yeah,
It's like it's more interesting than just love or just hate.
yeah, and I feel like you did a really, really good job with it.
Thank you.
Um, Another question I had, did you have any other outside inspirations besides Hamilton in your story process?
um Well, I picked the song before I even wrote the story
Oh.
because I was like, it took me a while to pick the song. Like I went through a whole list.
Mhm.
And the song Dankeschön is from Ferris Bueller,
Oh,
or well, it's from a lot of things, but that's how I know it. And I had been listening to it recently, um, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, the song is like so good!" And when I read the lyrics, I knew like I had to pick it. So I think the line, it was like, "Through all the love and pain," that's like what kind of drew me in. That's like the line that I really liked because I thought that really summed up uh, what Gretchen felt. And like it says like save those lies, like because she
mhm.
like knew he was the liar, but like still she's thanking him again like for the relationship. So the
Yeah.
song definitely played a huge part into my writing process.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear it and love to hear the story
Thanks.
behind it. Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much for this
Thank you.
co-interview. It was very
Yes.
wonderful.
Very riveting. Yes.
Yes. Well, I wish you the best in your future story writing endeavors, and
Thank you. You too.
hope you have a good night. Yeah.
You too. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. All right.